Hey guys, just back with another video discussion on what decks I think will be more prevalent in the new format. Especially all these new changes, but because of the ban list, so many different decks are going to come up now that weren't used as much before. Like last format was basically Dragon Rulers, Prophecy, Mermail, small amount of Fire Fist, and Evil Swarm, stuff like that. In the format before that, I remember it was mainly, Chaos Dragons, Wind-Ups, Agents, not subscibe, loads of different player playing, that sort of stuff. But I think the new format is going to be, when it comes to like the top tier decks, the decks to beat, essentially. Obviously 4X is Fire Fist. Yes, they lost Tenki, but they've got a lot of synergy with different decks. Like they got the Fire Fist synergy that works very well with them all together. And they have Boar and Wolfberg, and that's easy level 8 synchros when you think about it. Crimson Blader, and especially a lot of people I've noticed on the end, they don't realise this. When Wolfberg brings back Boar from the graveyard, Boar's effect is negated, in which it says that it can only be used as synchro material for a fire synchro monster. That effect is negated, which means Scrap Dragons, which they're always going to have a card to pop to use Scrap Dragon's effect. Stardust, that Dual Dragon Archfiend, Dual Flare Dragon that really overpowers level 8 synchro, and any level 8 they really want, and that's going to be really powerful. A deck that can spell out level 4 synchros, hold down control with its different monster effects and different spells and traps to boost attack, and produce level 8 synchros. I think it's going to be the deck to beat. Out of all the decks at the moment, I think Fire Fist would be the best one. The only problem at the moment with Fire Fist is they don't have good enough players using them, because you have a lot of people who think, oh, this is tier 1 now, I'm going to use it, and they're not good with it. There are a lot of Fire Fist players aren't good with Fire Fist. And it's the same with Prophecy. A lot of Prophecy players weren't good with Prophecy either. Next, I think it's Bujin. And my opinion on Bujin is this. It's not necessarily a good deck, it's just difficult to beat. That's my opinion on it. To me, a good deck is one where it can adapt to different situations, and no matter what you pull out, it's going to have some kind of answer where it can try and make some form of comeback, to try and make some kind of play to get back in the game. That's what Fire Fist do. You pull out a lot of monsters, they can try, put out level 4 Tiger King in order to stop your effects, maybe put out Bear to pop a back row. They got cards they can adapt. Bujin, they don't adapt. They if you go first and you put down some form of trap to stop Yamato, or you put a lot of monsters on the field, there's nothing they can essentially do. They can have a crane in hand, but that's not going to help when you've got 3 or 4 monsters on the field with different effects and stuff that can defeat that purpose. But what they are good at is being difficult to beat. Even when you side in against them, they are still extremely difficult to beat. They got Kaiser Colosseum. They put one Yamato out, crane in hand, and a turtle in the grave with Kaiser Colosseum. Name one monster you can get out that can get over that. There's no monster you can get out that can get over what's going to be a 3600 Yamato with one monster. You can't bring on a second one, you can't synchro, you can't XYZ. It's just not something you can do. But what I think makes them so good is mid-game. Opening up, they can be pretty bad. They can open up no Tenki, no Pot of Duality, no Yamato, no way of using their monster effects, and they end up setting Turtle, setting Quillen, in some circumstances even setting Crane, but they have a lot of back row and a lot of answers to different things that you can do. And if you let them get to mid game, if you don't finish off a Bujin player within the first 3 or 4 turns, you lost, because they're gonna have, by the time they get to the Yamato, they're gonna have a Quillen engraved, they're gonna have a Turtle, they're gonna have Crane or Honest in hand. They're gonna end their turn with whatever they need, either in their hand or in the graveyard, and there's nothing you can do. You're not gonna have a hand big enough to get over that. There are very few cards that can get rid of Yamato because without targeting. Like Smashing Ground is one of them. Dark Hole, but Dark Hole's at 1, and how many people main Smashing Ground? And yet again, they have Kaiser Coliseum out. Very difficult. And I've seen a lot of them, apart from the Kaiser Coliseum, is maining a Gozen match, because without Heavy Storm, you're going to have to pick which one you're going to get rid of. And you're going to have to get rid of the Kaiser Coliseum, but most decks these days are one attribute, so it shouldn't hurt them. But it's those other kind of decks, what was I talking about, like Fire Fist are mainly water, Mermail, Fire Fist are mainly fire, Mermail or water, but you get some kind of 6 not all of them are earth, Madoshe maybe, but most of them would be earth. Different decks that are trying to pull off a strategy to get around it. Goes and match can hurt. It's difficult to get over. And that's the main problem with Bujin. They're just difficult to beat, and I think they're really overrated. And most of their players are going to get bored using them because they are essentially a boring deck. What's the point in trying to use them if you're trying to win, if it's going to take you 20 minutes to do it and you're just going to be bored out of your mind doing the same play over and over again. Next, I think, is Mermail. They are a lot slower, just a 1 Diva and 1 Dragoon, but they still have loads of other options. They still have Linda, 3 Sphere, 3 Tias, 3 Megalo, 3 Tidal. They are still a very fast deck, and I think they didn't really have any problems apart from macro. You put macro or dimensional fissure on the board, Mermail would struggle. They could still, summon Megalo and stuff like that, but the monsters discarded wouldn't get their effects, and you just basically run out of materials and it's game after that. But those 2 cards limited to 1, no one's really going to be using them, so what I think would be the best idea for them is basically trying to use the plays that they made before, but not put as many cards on the field. They're not going to have that OTK version. They're not going to be able to summon Spike, ditch Dragoon, add a Diva and a Megalo, add a Abyss Gunda and a Diva, all these different combos they can just make because they had the resources to refill their hand. And that's the biggest difference, I think, will be this format of Mermail. They can't fix their resources as quickly as they used to. Because you summon Diva, you can summon an infantry, a normal summon another again, or you can summon a marksman, attack direct, deal some kind of damage, and then end up summoning a Dragoon, or another infantry, and then summoning from there. So they always had resources, and ditching Dragoon would always, with Spike, essentially would always be adding 2 more cards to your hand that you needed, and you never really ran out of resources, and that's what made them overpowered. They always got monsters out quickly and never ran out of resources, but now they're going to run out of them. And especially with Tidal, it's going to be difficult because you don't want to banish all your best cards from the grave either. Because you can use Tidal's second effect, and I've seen this on Duel Network, seen it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, people asking how it didn't work. The monster you ditch with Tidal from your hand gets the effect if it has that discard effect, or sent to the graveyard by a water monster's effect, not the one sent from the deck to the graveyard. So if you ditch, let's say, an infantry from hand to the graveyard with Tidal, infantry gets its effect. And then if you send, let's say, Dragoon or Marksman to the deck, from the deck to the graveyard for the rest of the Tidal's effect, that card doesn't get the effect. And so many people think that. I originally thought that until I realised, oh wait, the activation of the effect is from the hand, not in the graveyard, So that's how that works. But they're still going to be a very powerful deck. They still can XYZ easily, they can still synchro up a little bit with Diva. They're just going to be slower. Now, I think those would be the main three. I don't see the other decks coming in that I'm going to mention because they just don't seem to have the same capability and consistency as those three. But basically, what I think would be underneath that can try and break in, Frog Monarchs are going to be big. You know, no one uses Frog Monarchs as much because they haven't been able to use them properly in the latest few formats. They've been very slow in the latest formats. And if you think about it, they didn't get hurt. You know, you could say Pot of Avarice, but I don't think that many Frog Monarchy players use that. But they didn't get hurt, and they got an extra Pot of Duality. They don't special summon that much, you know. If they don't have the frog in grave, they're gonna put it in the grave. They don't mind, you know, searching for Pot of Duality, getting the Swamp Frog, normal summoning for Swamp Frog, ditching, you know, Treeborn to the grave, and then bringing Swamp Frog back to the hand and ending it there. Because there's not many OTK decks, and then making their play from there. You know, they're gonna be good. They're getting a few more cards, and you know, there's a lot of combos, and there's a few new rank ones coming out, so Treeborn won't be that hard to find. And you know, as I said, Macro and Dimensional Fissure are gone. And there aren't many decks that will hurt Frog Monarchs when you think about it. Constellar probably, Medoche maybe, you know, Dark World maybe. But I don't see many decks being able to stop Frog Monarchs. The Frog Monarchs get their play. You know, the same thing as the Bujin. They're slow starters. Okay? Very slow starters. And that's the problem with a few decks, and that's the main reason why a lot of people won't choose them. Because they are slow starters. You know, first 3 turns it maybe takes to get your plays ready. You know, 'cause you have to set up the grave. It's a bit like Light Sworn. People prefer Light Sworn over Frog Monarchs, even though they are slow play, but they still have cards. They can, you know, Solar Recharge, and at the end of their turn, after summoning a Light Sworn monster, they can have, you know, 10 plus cards in the grave, and their next turn set up for just dropping boss monster after boss monster because of so much skill is needed to do that. I hate Light Sworn players. The worst thing about Light Sworn players is their arrogance. You know, if they don't draw the hand they need, they go on about how unlucky they are. And if you're complaining about how unlucky you are, then that's, you know, you just admitting that your deck needs luck. You need to mill the right cards. Okay, a lot of these decks like Frog Monarchs, you're sending the cards you need to the grave. Bujin, you're sending the cards you need to the grave and adding the ones you need to the hand. Mermail, same thing. You're going to add the ones you need, send the ones that you want to activate. Loads of decks are like that when it comes to graveyard ones. Light Sworn, nope. Light Sworn's just, oh, I've got a Light Sworn in hand, Solar Recharge in hand, and I'm gonna hope I mill something lucky. You know, that's the way it is. I've seen players, Light Sworn players, rage quit because they'll summon Lila, you know, use its effect, pop a back row, end phase, mill 3, and they mill a Reborn, a Dark Hole, and a Space Typhoon, and they just, you know, I'm out. Bad mills, you win, GG. It's like, what's the point of playing? You know, if you're just gonna hope for a lucky draw. But with less back row around, Light Sworn are gonna see more play. And it's unfortunate, but they'll eventually stop using it when they realise how inconsistent and easy to side against it is. I think 6am, Medoche, Constellar, and Dark World will be decks a lot of players will play. You know, Medoche are fun. They can be fun to play. They can't pull off amazing comebacks. Well, sometimes if you get lucky, they can. If you have enough cards in hand, you can pull off an amazing comeback. You know, summon Mew, special Hoop Cake, banish a card, summon what is it? Messengerado effect, add Chateau. You know, activate Chateau. XYZ into different XYZ into probably Invoker, use Invoker effect to bring out another Messenger overlay into what's it, the rank 40 play whatever the fuck its name is, and then like try and make a comeback from there. You know, they have plays like that, but you need to have those cards in hand. But most players run 3, so I just don't think they're consistent enough, because with Madoshe you get very bad hands. You can get extremely bad hands with Madoshe. You know, if you get all your Messenger Lados first turn, or two Messenger Lados, or you keep drawing into your Messenger Lados, you're not going to have its effect of Special Summon, especially if you're not getting your Mew. Most of them run one or two of them, not three. Constellar, they're good. You know, they're very good with Pleiades. They can keep bouncing stuff. They have a lot of back row. They can run the Kaiser Coliseum combo too. They can run Goes and Match because they all have light. You know, they have an Honest. The main problem with Constellar is the main problem with a lot of decks that spit out rank 4s is that they don't recover the resources as well. And that's what I think is going to separate the top tier decks. Any deck that can recover its resources will be the best one, in my opinion. And the best one I feel is Bujin for doing that, because you add a card, you ditch a card. You know, you're not going neg, you're getting the card you need. You're never overfilling, you know, the field to get destroyed or anything like that. Mermail, Fire Fist, not Frogmanax, Constellar, Madoshe, and Dark World. If you hit a bump with those decks, it can be extremely difficult to come back from. And that's something other decks don't have the problem with. Like, that was the main problem with Dragon Mirror's last format, is that no matter what you did to them, if they brought out two Big Eyes, a Draco Sack, and a Light and Darkness Dragon, and you somehow managed to get over all of that with whatever you had to do it. Let's say you just, you know, you had a set card, you activate Space Typhoon on your set card, Light and Darkness Dragon activates his effect, you chain, to negate Space Typhoon, you chain Skill Drain to that effect, you know, stopping their field, you activate Dark Hole, and you get over all their cards. Their next turn, they still have all the resources available to come back at you with the exact same field. And not many decks have that effect these days, you know, apart from Bujin and possibly Fire Fist. I think Karakuri, you know, Prophecy, Infernity, Inzectors, Black Wings, Wind-Ups, Hero Beat Agents, you know, TG Stun, Dragon Mirror Plants, Battling Boxers, Evil Swarm, all these decks are good to use this format. All these decks will have an equal chance against each other, most likely in different formats. Well, in this format, no one's going to have the overall advantage over another one. It's going to be down to a lot of skill of the player involved. You know, it's not going to be, oh, your deck's just top tier, mine's not. It's going to be, oh, you made the better decision, the better plays, you got the better cards out in time. But I think whatever deck can find a way of being able to spit out cards while keep maintaining a good hand advantage or resource availability will be the top tier one. And out of those decks, the top three that can do that are 4-Axis Fire Fist, Bujin, and Mermail. Now, if you think any other deck can come along and do that, you let me know. But I personally don't think any other deck out there can keep up with them in the long run when it comes to that factor. You know, that's my personal opinion. So if you have any opinions on what I've said, anything you disagree with or agree with, or anything that any deck that I might have missed that you think will manage to break in, you know, let me know, because I'm curious on what I want to play this format. I haven't decided. I've been messing around with Constellar Utopia, I've been messing around with Gladiator Beasts, been messing around with Bujins. You know, nothing's actually standing out for me that I personally like at the moment. But I'd be curious to see what you guys are playing, what you guys think will be the next top decks in the format. And one last thing, I know it might contradict the entire premise of the video, but I don't necessarily think there's going to be an actual top deck of the format. I think it's, you know, there could be, and that's the point of these videos, is to discuss what there might be. But I don't necessarily think there will be, because everything kind of has an equal chance against everything else. You know, Madoshe can stand up against Mermail if it has the right hand. they can stand up against Boojin, Fire Fist, and Constellar and Dark World. They can all stand up against each other. Everything's going to be involved in what you can decide. So I think everything has an equal chance against everything else. And it'll just depend on skill, player skill. And I think the top deck's just going to end up being whatever the players with the best skill, or whatever decks are doing the best. Whatever people are using that seems to do the best. And that's going to be Boojin, because people are going to want an easy win. And people don't like losing, and the deck there that's hardest to beat is Boojin. So I'll leave it at that, and you know, like, comment and subscribe, whatever shit you guys feel you want to do.